Hello, boys and girls. Today I am filming from our playground. Our playground has missed you just as much as I have. It's a beautiful day, so I thought it would be a great day to come out here and film a story for this week, Frogs. And this book of mine is so well loved. Look what has happened, boys and girls. I have read this book so many times that look, the pages are even coming out. So I found this book on Epic. It's going to be part of your Frogs Epic collection that I'm going to send to your mailboxes. So you'll be able to read this on your Epic accounts, and I'm going to read from that. So you can see the pages real nice and big. While I'm reading, you could probably hear the birds chirping and even some frogs croaking in the distance. I think I hear some, so they're listening to our story today too. Okay, our collection will look like, let me see, where's Frogs? Right here. It'll be just titled Frogs. And when you go to it, you'll see books that have read to me buttons on them. So all of these books have a voice, and you can have the voice read to you. Like this book right here, you can let the voice read to you again, but today I'm going to read it. I want you guys to be listening to all of these science words I'm going to read in frogs, because frogs are another life cycle that is fun to study in the spring. I've got some word cards I'm going to talk to you about after the story's over, and then we're going to also see if you remembered the life cycle of the frog, and I've got my little squishy pieces that are going to help us retell the life cycle of a frog here. So I'll need your help with that. Pay close attention to all of those concepts, okay? All right, this is Frogs. It's a National Geographic Kids book, and they have lots of non-fiction stories for kids to learn about animals and things in the natural world around them. At the end of this story, it should show like other icons of National Geographic kid books that would be great to listen to while you're home learning with your families. It says, alive with froggy facts, this book brings you deep into the swampy world of our amphibian amigos. That means friends in Spanish. So our amphibian friends. That's a very important vocabulary word in this book. Amphibian means frogs. It means two lives, because a frog is an amphibian and it has two lives. It can live on land and it can live in water. You'll see them usually in more wet places of ponds and creeks because they live near water, because they have two lives, on land and in the water. So you'll probably see and hear that word a lot in this book. Frogs. Splash. And this picture right here is the Pacific chorus frog. It says, splish, splash. What is that sound? What is hopping and jumping around? What loves to swim? What loves to eat bugs? It's a frog. Can you hop like a frog? I bet all of my kindergartners can hop like a frog. Frogs live all over the world except Antarctica. Frogs usually live in wet places. They like rivers, lakes, and ponds. That's what we just talked about. But some frogs live in trees. Some even live in the desert. Frogs can be found all over the world. Wherever they live, that's their habitat. There's a special word right there. Habitat, the natural place where a plant or animal lives. And I adore this red-eyed tree frog. Look at that little guy right there. He is adorable. Croak. Look at this frog croaking. Some frogs' throats puff up when they make sounds. Each type of frog makes its own sound. The coqui frog is named after the sound it makes. It sounds like coqui, Cokie. This frog is the size of a quarter, so itty bitty, boys and girls. Even small frogs can make loud noises. And this is going to be a little extra fact and extra information for you guys. Whenever I was in college, my husband was taking a herpetology class, which is where they study all things frogs, lizards, and turtles. And he had to study all the different sounds that frogs make. He had to learn all of the croaks and frog calls, and he had tests over it where they would play the sound of a frog, and he had to write down what was the name of that frog. So it was really important whenever he was taking that college class, and it was really interesting because I got to help him learn the frog calls, and I would listen to his CD with him and try to see if I could remember them too. It was pretty cool. Frogs make different sounds for different reasons. Sometimes it is to warn other frogs of danger. Sometimes it is to call to frogs nearby. This frog lives around noisy waterfalls. Other frogs would not be able to hear its calls, so it dances instead. It sticks out one leg, then the other. Can you dance like a frog? And look at how its neck is puffing up on both sides like that whenever it tries to make its call. How cool is that? Frog food. What is the frog's favorite food? Usually it's insects. Frogs eat dragonflies and crickets and other bugs. Some frogs eat bigger animals like worms and mice. The American bullfrog even eats other frogs. Wow. So in the pond habitat, you're going to see all of those other creatures, and they all serve a purpose, even if it's frog food. What's that pink flash? It's how a frog catches bugs. It shoots out its long, sticky tongue at a passing bug. The frog pulls the bug into its mouth. Look how long that frog's tongue is. Wow, I'm blown away, guys. It says if your tongue was as long as a frog's, it would reach to your belly button. Can you imagine? And this frog's tongue looks like it is measuring close to, I think, like 6 inches long. That's the green tree frog. Wow. Everyone say, wow. Every size and color. Frogs can be many different sizes. The tiny one right here is called the micro frog. Can you imagine a little tiny frog that could fit on the tip of your finger? The smallest frog is as big as a fingernail. The largest is as big as a rabbit. And what's interesting about this large frog that's in this scale, this weight that they're weighing that frog, his name is the Goliath frog. Goliath. Now I want you to start thinking what other stories you might know that uses that name Goliath, and how you can connect the reasons why they called that frog a Goliath frog. Wow. Frogs can be different colors too. Here it says some are green or brown, the tiger striped leaf frog. Others have stripes or spots. This is the Amazonian poison dart frog. And think about, why would they be all these different colors? It says frogs can be red, yellow, or orange, like the red poison dart frog. And this right here is the blue poison dart frog. Watch out! These colorful frogs may look pretty, but watch out. These frogs have poison in their skin. Their bright color warns enemies not to eat them. I bet that was the prediction you were making on the previous page about why they're all these different colors. Here's the poison dart frog and the yellow banded poison dart frog. So there's so many different kinds of poison dart frogs. And remember, poison is something that can kill or hurt other living things. So this is their way of protecting themselves. These bright colors are going to warn off other birds and snakes and animals so that they know, don't eat me, I taste bad, I'm going to make you sick, or I might even kill you. So their coloring is actually the way they defend themselves. This little frog is only an inch long. Its name is Terribilis, which means the terrible one. So how did it get this name? By being the most deadly frog of all. One terribilis has enough poison to kill 20,000 mice. Wow, that is definitely a super poisonous frog. All right, here we're going to get into the life cycle, and I want you to pay close attention because when we're done, I have my little soft pieces. We're going to help retell these life cycle stages, okay? Frog babies. All frogs, even the terribilis, have mothers. Mother frogs lay eggs. When the eggs are ready, out pop the tadpoles. Tadpoles are baby frogs, but they don't look like frogs yet. Tadpoles have tails. They live only in water. Why do you think they have tails? Why do you think they live in water when they're first hatched? Tadpoles grow up to be frogs, and there's several stages how these tadpoles are going to change over time. That's part of any life cycle. There's changes that are happening just like you are when you're growing up from a baby to a teenager to a grown adult. You go through changes too. So look at these 4 steps of the tadpole changing. It says tadpoles grow up to be frogs. At first, they breathe underwater with gills. Then they grow lungs for breathing air. They grow legs for hopping and swimming. And in 3 months, they lose their tails. It's time to hop out of the water. Toads are frogs too. What's the difference between toads and frogs? Well, some frogs are poisonous. They have moist and smooth skin. They have teeth in their upper jaw. They have long, powerful jumping legs. And their eggs are laid in clusters or groups. It says toads are a type of frog. Frogs spend most of their lives around water, but toads spend more time on dry land. Their bodies are built for where they live. So instead, they have shorter legs, more for walking rather than for jumping. Their skin is dry and bumpy since it's not such a wet climate or wet habitat. Their skin is drier. Their eggs are laid in long chains, and their eyes do not bulge out from their body. A poison gland is located behind each eye. So earlier today, I found what I thought was a frog on my front porch, and Mr. Francis and Addie Bell helped me catch it. I'm going to insert a picture around here, and I want y'all to check it out. Tell me what you think, whether this little frog that I caught is truly a frog or whether you think it's a toad. Let me know why you think that, why you think it might be a frog, and why you think it might be a toad. Note, I did catch it on my front porch, and but it's close to my yard, and it was not close to the pond. Super frogs. So I love how the creators of this book made this page. It looks like superhero comic books or magazines. So they have this front cover of what looks to be like comic magazines, and they have the really cool titles explaining these types of frogs. This one says the high flyer. It's a gliding leaf frog. Any frog can jump, but watch me glide. So that's what's special and super about that gliding leaf frog. The two-faced faker right here it looks like it has 2 heads. A fake face fools enemies when this frog turns around. So it has these colorings on the back of it that makes it look like it has a much larger face. When predators see that, they probably think, oh, that's much bigger of a frog than I thought. I don't think I need to eat that. This one up here in the purple is the screamer. A loudmouth frog leaves enemies stunned. They probably think, wow, that sounds like a big animal. I'm not going to bother it. And this is Mr. Invisible down here on the red comic at the bottom. He's a master of disguise. Now you see him, now you don't. And that's one way he protects himself. So think about each type of these frogs and what makes them so super and why they are super, how those things might protect them from predators. All right, at the end it had a few special words to remember, like croak, gills, poison, and habitat. I want you to look at those with your families and really remember those. It says almost done. Remember at the end of your books always to click finish book. And these are some other National Geographic Kids books you can look at for some great science and social studies concepts. And I'm going to stop my share and put me on big screen because we're going to talk about some of those special characteristics of frogs. So I hope you were listening closely to the book, Frogs, and let's go over some special things I want you to really remember. The characteristics of a frog. So if you were writing a passage about frogs, you might want to include that they are great jumpers, And the reason why they have such large legs is that they need to hop out of the water and also to hop away from predators. Okay, so if I were writing a passage about frogs, I would make sure to include that they are great jumpers. I might also include that they eat insects. That's important to know about a frog. What is its diet? What food does it eat? Insects. But remember, the book also mentioned things about how they could eat other frogs and other small animals too. Some frogs do. Now, how they're going to catch that food is important too. I would probably mention in my writing that they catch it with a sticky tongue. Remember, you might even add another adjective instead of just sticky. You might add with a long, sticky tongue. So that's two adjectives you could use to describe the tongue. A long, sticky tongue. And what I did not hear in the book, but this is very important, is it swallows its food whole. Some frogs don't even have teeth, so they're not going to chew and break down their food. They're going to swallow it whole. It's important to know that frogs hatch from eggs. You could even go on from here to mention how they change from that egg, how the tadpole is going to go through some changes to become an adult frog. So it hatches from eggs, it goes through lots of changes to get to that adult frog. And how baby frogs are called tadpoles. Those are great important facts about frogs you can use to write about, maybe even think on when you're studying or finding frogs in your yards or around your neighborhood or your community. If your parents are going on nature walks, that would be great. Okay, now let's talk about the life cycle. So maybe instead of writing characteristics about a frog, you might want to write about how a frog changes from egg to adult frog. Okay, what's the very first step in a frog growing and changing? It's going to be an egg. So the mommy frog is going to lay eggs. Frogs lay them in clusters in water. So they're going to lay these eggs, and I love how this is soft and squishy and fun to feel. And those eggs are going to have black centers. You could even describe the eggs. They're jelly, sticky, and they have black centers. Those black centers are what's going to end up being the frog or the tadpole. Okay, so once they are eggs, they're going to hatch out of their eggs, and hatching from the eggs is going to come out a little tadpole. So here's our tadpole. It doesn't look much like a frog, does it, boys and girls? It has a long tail. I see its eyes and what looks like might be a mouth emerging. But this is the basic first step of a tadpole. And then this tadpole is going to undergo some changes with its lungs. First, it has gills. Then it's going to end up with lungs like most mammals have, where they can breathe out of water. So first they're breathing through gills like fish, then they become more apt to live on land with lungs. Then those tadpoles are going to grow arms and legs. Arms and legs. It still has its tail though, doesn't it? It still has quite a long tail that's going to help push it along in the water. It's going to learn how to use these back legs and front legs. But that tail is still really important to the tadpole and how it's going to move around eating food and growing. Then this tadpole's tail is going to get shorter and shorter. Its back and front legs are going to become stronger and stronger so that it doesn't need that tail, and that tail is just going to shrink as the rest of it grows and grows and grows. So as it grows, that tail's going to completely come off or shrink, and it's going to become an adult frog. And this adult frog is going to use its strong back legs. It's going to use its long, sticky tongue to catch flies, insects, and other things that it needs to survive. So I hope that was some fun information that we learned in our book, Frogs. Great nonfiction text with loads of information that maybe we can use in writing on a writing page or even just in a journal. A great idea would be to, as you're looking for frogs out in your neighborhood or around your house, maybe draw one, label it, write a few sentences about it. And I would love to see that. You can share that with me through email, message, dojo, anyway, and it doesn't matter which kid you are. I'd love to see it. Your teacher would love to see it, and we would love to hear from y'all. So one quick last look around the playground. I think I heard some frogs just a minute ago, and I really appreciate y'all tuning in and listening to the story. Bye.